Shalom Am Israel. I am here with my friend at the Global Jewish Education Summit. Let's just cut to the chase. Please introduce yourself, where you're from.
Hello, my name is Raphael Zarum. I'm a rabbi and I'm the Dean of the London School of Jewish Studies, which is a teacher training and adult education college in London. And we train teachers and we teach the community.
Fantastic. So we're sitting here, there are around 130 plus educators, heads of schools, thinkers, practitioners. We're talking about what is going on around the world, global Jewry. How do we teach our next generation? And there's a lot of ideas floating around. And you made a very, very interesting point, which a lot of the audience here, most of the audience applauded. And if you just want to talk a bit about how it is that we approach teaching Jewish history from our respective lenses, right? What is that point that you made?
Right, well, the issue, we were talking about Israel education, and the speaker, Rabbi Dr. Gordis, was talking about the fact that when we educate Israel, it shouldn't just be about the conflict, it should be about the origins of the state of Israel and how it came to be and the different Zionist ideologies, as well as the modern culture and all the examples of what Israel has now achieved in the world. And what I said to him is that I had an issue about origins, because as an American, he talked about the importance of saying how Zionism built the state of Israel. And I felt he was doing that because as an American, he's interested in the Declaration of Independence in America and how America began. But I made a point as a Brit that England's been around for thousands of years.
Right.
And we don't talk about our origin in that sense. We talk about our great kings and our great past.
You mentioned it, Britain has always been.
Exactly. And now France does have a revolution on the stage, but South America, each country has a different beginning or history, and they look at Israel often through the lens of their country and who they are.
Right. So you make a very, I think, interesting point, which ought to be obvious, right? Is that when we're teaching our students, right, depending on which country and which community you come from, you're relating it to your sort of host country's history. Mm-hmm. So Israel versus Britain, it's always been there. Britain has a long history, and you talk about the kings of Britain and the kingships, and so too Israel. Israel has always been in existence. Versus an American, just reiterating what you say, is that this is sort of a renewal, a rebirth. It's the coming home. It's a whole new idea, if you will, the new Jew, as they often like to say, right? And that's fascinating. I think it's something to think about as we reflect on how we are teaching our history vis-a-vis the countries we come from. Now, there's a challenge in that approach to teaching global Jewry in our respective countries can also lead to a different understanding of history and how it's come to be and how Israel has come to be, right? So having said that, the next stage, I think, and maybe you agree or disagree, is, okay, how do we then create a global sense for our next generation to understand what is the common denominator? Because we're each teaching it from our own lens. Then what is common among us? How can we go about perhaps maybe the next stage of teaching history from a lens that combines our connectivity to the history of Am Yisrael, Jewish peoplehood, Israel, and so on and so forth?
Well, from a philosophical point of view, it's the debate between particularism and universalism and how the two relate. We've always had divisions. You go back to the 12 tribes under Jacob, looked at things different ways. Then the kingdom was divided between the north and the south in terms of the first kingdom of Israel in 1000 BC. Eventually it split up. And then ultimately, we had later Ashkenazi and Sephardi. So we've always had particular communities, and there's two aspects. What am I particular community about, and what's universal with everybody else?
Right.
The key lesson is this: you understand the universal better if you know your particular. So if I understand British history and how Israel relates in that sense, having that framework to understand myself, I can now understand the way the Americans look at it, or the way the French look at it. So my particularism leads to universalism. But if I miss out at that particular stage, universalism is a dangerous thing, because then we lose particularity and understanding of who I am. It's a subtle relationship between
that relationship and how you connect to that, right?
So I want an American Jew to know their history and understand how that relates to Israeli history. I want them to know what the American presidents said about Israel. In the same way that I want English people to know what Churchill said.
So
and once I understand my framework, then I'm in a better situation to understand others. I'll give you an example. I went to university, and you know the people I was most friendly with? It was the religious Muslims and the religious Christians. Because they understood kashrut. They go, oh, we eat this. Oh, we don't eat this. Oh, we drink this. We don't this. But the secular people in my university, it took longer to relate to because they didn't have something that was different to me. They didn't have anything. So often, through different particularities, we gain a general universalism.
So then you're making the case, if I'm not mistaken, for there to be a perhaps segment of Jewish education around the world in various communities teaching about each Jewish community's approach to understanding themselves vis-a-vis their host countries, we'll call it host countries for now, and Jewish history in general. So that I can appreciate what British Jewry is learning to better understand their entry point into this conversation of Jewish history, Jewish peoplehood, and vice versa.
I think it happens, but it happens through the people that understand it best. So once a person understands their own faith or their own ideology, they can relate to others. So if it's in an interfaith conference, I think as a good model for it is, you only send people to an interfaith conference who understand their own faith.
Interesting.
Then they're ready to learn about others, and that helps them deepen their own understanding of their own faith.
Wow.
So again, American Jews will need to understand what American Jewish history is.
Of course.
And then when they meet people from other countries, they'll understand other ones and understand their own better, and gradually understand a universal approach.
So right now,
it's got to be happening in stages.
Right. So it seems to me like right now Jewish communities are studying history in their own silos.
Yes.
And we need to break down those barriers.
Yes.
So then moving forward, what is then ultimately the common denominator of our people when we're teaching our history?
Well, that's one that will evolve, but for me, it's the Bible. Because that's where it begins.
Interesting.
And all different kinds of Jews, secular, progressive, ultra-Orthodox, all different kinds, use or read the Bible in different ways, but it's our national book. So instead of a national origin in terms of space, I think it's the Bible.
Wow,
That's our
interesting.
story, but there's more. Well, you have to go to the next session.
I appreciate the conversation. Thank you very much. See you guys soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Am Yisrael Chai.